Well, I just wasn't hearing anything, so I just felt left out of any conversation. I could not hear anything. And my daughter used to say, "Mum, you are missing such a lot." I said, "I know." That stopped me from going out a lot, because what pleasure was I going to get out of it, because I could not hear it? So, ending up staying at home. People don't know that you're deaf, and they but don't speak out loud. So you answer them and you hope it's the right answer. Well, half the time it's not. So isolation, it's terrible.
Well, you're just in another world of its own. It's no communication with other people because you can't understand what's being said. And that's just a bad influence on you itself. Well, when you're in a group, if you're not hearing, you can't converse with them and talk. You feel as if you're frightened of saying the wrong word. If they was to speak plain and not too fast, and that they don't mutter, and you get others who mumble. And one of the worst ones is people who talks too fast. You can never grasp what they're saying. Hearing aid helps a great deal, because if you haven't got your hearing aid, you're missing out with what's happening around in the world.
Communication is a two-way responsibility. Simple techniques will greatly help hearing impaired people to understand what you are saying, whether or not they're using hearing aids. The techniques we will demonstrate are also listed in the Good Practice Guide. First, get the listener's attention. Reduce or move away from background noise. Turn off the radio or television. Face the listener directly. Both sit or both stand about 1 metre apart. Don't shout. Speak normally. If necessary, a little louder. Shouting and impatience will worry and distract the listener. A smile can be reassuring to the listener. When hearing loss is associated with aging, it usually affects high-pitched sounds first. This makes consonants harder to hear than vowels. It is consonants that give words their meaning. Take this quip for an example. An X-ray of my head found nothing. Now reduce the consonants and look what's left. Even with lesser degrees of high pitch loss, reduced consonants makes understanding difficult. This explains why using different words may help, but shouting won't. Context is everything.
Aids should be turned off during insertion. Check the colour indicator to ensure that the aids are inserted in the correct ears. Red for right and blue for left. To insert the ITE aid, make sure the aid is the right way up. Usually the removal line or air vent will sit in the forward bottom corner of the ear. Make sure the curve of the aid follows the curve of the ear. Give the earlobe a gentle pull down to make sure that the aid is seated correctly in the ear. Close the battery compartment to turn the aid on. Flat batteries are the most common reason for aids not working. Cup the aid in your hand. If it whistles, then the aid is functioning. If it doesn't work when the aid's inserted, the cause is likely to be wax in the ear canal itself. The battery compartment is at the bottom of a BTE aid. Remove the battery with the magnetic tip of the wax cleaning tool. Don't bang an aid to remove the battery. Dispose of the old batteries in the rubbish bin immediately to avoid possible confusion with a new battery. It's a very easy mistake to make. Different types of aids take different sized batteries, so be sure that you use the right size. Pick up a new battery with the magnetic tip of the wax cleaning tool, the plus sign on the battery facing up. Never force a battery into the compartment, as this may damage the casing. Close the battery compartment carefully. If the tubing or mould of a BTE aid has been replaced by the hearing services provider, a mould with an attached length of tubing may be mailed back for reattachment to the aid. Insert the mould into the ear correctly, then place the aid over the ear in the correct position. Mark the tubing with a pen, allowing sufficient overlap over the lip of the ear hook, about 5 mm. Remove the ear mould from the ear, cutting the tubing on the higher side of the mark. Do not cut the tubing whilst the mould is in the ear. When attaching the aid to the mould, ensure that the curve of the mould matches the curve of the hearing aid. Cochlear implants will increasingly be encountered in aged care facilities for people with a severe to profound hearing loss. The external sound processor may look similar to a BTE hearing aid. The sound processor may have a remote control. The coil transmits digital signals from the external sound processor to the implant. The transmission coil is held against the outside of the head by magnetic attraction between the coil and the implant, which is under the skin a little behind the ear. Tiny electrodes deliver impulses from the implant to the cochlea in the inner ear, which stimulates the auditory nerve to the brain, thus bypassing the damaged hearing mechanism of the ear. It is becoming common to have implants for both ears, so the user has a sound processor on both sides of their head. A sound processor must only be used for the correct ear. A cochlear implant does not have problems with whistling or wax accumulation, as it doesn't have an ear mould.